Welcome to another edition of Africa Sideways. My name's Big Six Simpson and we've got another top 10 all-terrain tire review for you this year. This is the 2022 edition. Last year the Cooper XLT, the AT3 one. Who's going to get it this year? We got all to play for. We got the big boys from all the brands in the list. Disclaimer, I have driven some of these tires on test cars. Some of them I haven't, so it is slightly subjective. Take it with as much salt as you want. So let's jump straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. Number 10 on the list, slowly creeping down the list, but it's getting on a little bit in terms of lifespan, is the BF Goodrich KO2. When they first came out a few years ago, they were the talk of the town. A sort of slightly more softer, more road-friendly version of the KO ones. And that they have been to a certain degree. Still, wet braking is not ideal, but off-road, one of the best tires you can get for pure off-road usage. Three-ply sidewall, aggressive tread, great grip off-road, and that confidence that the BF Goodrich brand gives you off-road. The downside is the tar handling, not the best through the corners, and in the wet, a little bit slippery. So if you are going to be doing a lot of off-roading, KO2s are still a great tire, but if you're mainly going to be doing city driving and a bit of off-road, the KO2s is probably slightly overkill. And there are arguably better tires, newer tires that have come on the market to challenge them, some of which we'll be looking at during this video, you'd imagine. So there we go. Number 9 on the list is last year's number 1, surprisingly, but Cooper tires. I've been hearing a few not so good reports about them from a friend of mine's got one of them on his 110. He's had, I think it's his second set of them, the ST Maxxis. First set was great, the second set he's been having some problems with. Apparently he lost a tire or two in Namibia, so he's switched to another brand which we're going to be looking at later. The brand that's been making a lot of noise both here and Australia. But Cooper still a lot of people swear by them. Paul March puts them on his truck, so they're good enough for the top 10, but at the moment only good enough for 9. The Cooper Discoverer AT3 XLT, still a great looking tire, phenomenal off-road. I love the chunky sidewall, and I love the Coopers always make proper tires, so don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Good enough for number 9, the Discoverer AT3s. Number 8 on the list is a tire that I've driven on when I reviewed the Ranger Raptor. The Raptor originally had the KO2s, which I found were great off-road, phenomenal off-road, but on-road the handling wasn't that good. So recently in South Africa they changed to the General Grabber AT3, which in my opinion was a positive development because it gave it that much needed road handling, tar road handling, which a lot of people are going to be using it on tar. But it didn't lose any of the off-road ability. It still kept its speed on the gravel and was great on the off-road track. So I can't really fault the Grabber AT3s. I've had them on other test cars, never had a puncture, very, very quiet. One of the quietest all-terrain tires I've ever used. This and another one on the list is probably the 2 quietest all-terrain tires I've come across. And they're still quite affordable, middle of the range price pattern. And they have a lot of different sizes. A great one for if you've got a soft roader that you want to put a slightly more aggressive tire on, but you don't necessarily want a noisy, ultra rugged, say a KO2, and don't want to spend that kind of money. Something like the Grabber AT3 is a good option. I do see them on a lot of soft roaders these days. Speaking of soft roaders, probably the best, or one of the best tires for soft roaders is coming in at number 7 on the list. A tire that's probably a good 6 years old now, but just because it's an oldie doesn't mean it's still not a goodie. Is a Michelin Latitude Cross. I've recommended it to several people, including one of my friends who lives on a farm in the Karoo. Never had a puncture. I heard of one puncture. My brother got a set and he's done about 60,000 Ks. He had one puncture in the Tankwa, but was able to patch it up and carry on going. So all in all, I've heard of very, very few issues with this particular tire. Very quiet, great tar handling ability, and can still go off-road. So if you're looking for something that's sort of 90% tar, 10% gravel, tried and tested Michelin. The Michelin Latitude Cross has got you covered, and they've got a size tire for the 18-inch rim, which no other brand seems to have. Is a 225 by 65 and an 18, which the Freelander comes in, and a few of the modern SUVs with 18-inch rims. If you're looking to get a 65 profile on there, the Michelin Latitude Cross is one of your few options. It's the only decent option I could see, and that's why it comes in at number 7 on the top 10. Sure, ladies and gentlemen, this wasn't easy. I had to leave a couple of big names out. I'm going to have a special mention section at the end. But let's get straight into it. Number 6 on the list is a new tyre to South Africa. Is a Micky Thompson Baja Boss AT All Terrain Tyre. Now this is slightly more of an all terrain tyre than the ATZs, which is a kind of hybrid, which we saw on last year's list. So if you're looking for something that's still going to be good in the city but can still crack it off-road, it's getting rave reviews in the States and looks really, really good. The Micky Thompson tyres, you'll struggle to find a better looking tyre than that. And off-road grip and that prowess, you can drive these things hard on gravel and they're going to be there for you. Good enough for number 6 on the list, the Baja Bosses. Sure, top 5 time, ladies and gentlemen. A tyre that I'm seeing a lot more of on South African roads, and I think is going to be cutting into the likes of the BF Goodrich KO2 market. And I never thought I'd see one of these on the list, but in the last 6 months I've had a bit of exposure to the brand and I've been pleasantly surprised. And number 5 on the list is the Dunlop Grandtrek AT3Gs, which is a 2-ply rugged off-road tyre. You also get the AT3GMs, which is a 3-ply. So the 3Gs are 2 and the Ms is 3. So you got options there. If you're looking for something, just the regular 3Gs are a great tyre for sort of 70% tar, 30% off-road. A chunkier tread pattern than the AT5s and certainly on the AT25s, which is quite a highway-based tyre, which I see so many buckies coming out in the Dunlop AT25s. But they have got better tyres for South African conditions. Sure, in Europe you can get away with a highway-based tyre, but I think the OEM should be looking at some of these other brands that I'm talking about on this list. Just a slight little tweak here, or at least offer it. A customer, you can get a highway tyre, an all-terrain tyre. It shouldn't really come out too specified there, and give people some options. But anyway, the AT3Gs, the Dunlops, I've been seeing a lot of them on the road. They've got the nice thick white writing on there, thick tread pattern. The sidewall probably isn't going to be the best for rock crawling if you're doing serious rock crawling, because the tread is it's much more on the actual tyre than on the side of the tyre, but it's got a thick tread pattern. And those AT3GMs, if you're going to be doing rock crawling, you go for the 3-ply version of that and you're going to be at the races. The 3-ply version can hang with the likes of the KO2 for durability and robustness, and they're gonna nip them on price and wet braking arguably. It would be really nice to see those two going head to head in a smashing shootout. But anyway, Dunlop Grandtrek AT3Gs, or the 3GMs if you're going to go really solid, comes in at number 5 on the list. And number 4 on the list, a tyre that I've put 7,000 Ks on this year already, is the Dunlop Grandtrek AT5. Can you believe it? 2 Dunlops in the top 10 after 0 Dunlops last year. I've been so impressed with this brand. Previously I had the Goodyear Wranglers, which gave me 80,000 Ks of really good service. I only had 2 punctures, 1 blowout, which for the sort of gravel roading I'm doing is not too bad. One thing I did notice is that they were very, very noisy, the Goodyear Wranglers, noticeably noisy. And when I put the Dunlop AT5, the Grandtrek AT5s on, it was like a highway tyre. It was so quiet and blissful. You wanted to have that whoa music coming in there. It was, handling is noticeably better when I try and do like on a quiet car park with no run. When I try and do a little power slide or a little get the back end out, it's very, very difficult to get the back end out with these tires. They are just so grippy. so you get highway noise, which is not much at all. Highway tire type noise. So with the AT5s you get the best of both worlds. You get highway tire performance and you get off-road grip. I've taken them on gravel for a good couple of 100 k's, no punctures. They handle so well. I've taken them on sand as well. You can drop the tire pressure. I did drop the tire pressure. I did find that probably if you're going to be doing a lot of sand driving, I'd go for the 3Gs, because they do look a little, they do kind of lose their shape quite quickly when you let them down. So it is still more of the sort of 80% city, 20% gravel off-road type tire, which for me, before I would have wanted a more aggressive tire, but as you get older you just want something you can take on gravel on the holidays, do a bit of gentle rock crawling here and there, but you want it to perform well on tar in the city, in the wet. Fuel economy is not too crazy with these tires. I did go up a size, so it is a little bit more, but it's not tremendously more heavier than other tires. I did notice with mine of the 225x75 on the 16, it gives you an LT sidewall, which a lot of the other ones will give you more payload and a slightly thicker sidewall, compared to the XLs, which is on the CRV, is a 235x65 on a 17. Very kind of similar, but the one has the white writing on the side, which I like, and I think a slightly thicker tread pattern. But for number 4 on the list, probably the most improved tire brand of 2022 is Dunlop. They're bringing out some smashing offerings, and the Dunlop AT5s, I never thought they'd crack the top 10, but after sampling the product I can honestly say 0 punctures, great high speed motoring, gravel braking. It has you covered all ends up, and they give you 100,000 k trade warranty. They'll give you a discount on your next set of tires if it doesn't make it to 100,000 k's. And I can see that, because after 6,000-7,000 k's, the wear and tear on the tire is very, very little. Can't see much at all, and I think it could comfortably get to 80,000 k's. And if you kind of take it easy, rotate it a lot, and don't do serious off-roading, you've got a very good chance of getting to 100,000 k's. In fact, my brother-in-law got well past 100,000 k's with a highway set of Dunlop, so they're not talking out of their nose out of that. So as a result, and also cheaper than the American ones, the Dunlop Grandtrek 85 number 4 on this. Please leave your comments below if I've missed anything out. Please bear in mind these are tires that are mainly for the South African market. You can get them overseas, but there are a few other brands like Dick Capek and other off-road specialist tires, which are not really that popular in South Africa, but that's more for the enthusiast. This is more for the man in the street. Well, and the enthusiast to a certain degree, because we're going to get into some more rugged stuff a little bit later on. But it's top 3 time, ladies and gentlemen, the big top 3. It's not easy to crack into this top 3. But this is a tire that has steadily been climbing up the ranks. It's paid its dues. The Falken Wildpeak AT3 WAs. This is the 3rd incarnation of the ATs from Wildpeak, and I'm seeing a lot more of them on the road. A lot more overlanders are using them, and they're getting good reviews. Just to give you an idea of the build quality of the Falken Wildpeak brand, my mechanic had a set of AT1s, and he's done over 100,000 k's, no worries whatsoever. So you know they're a good solid tire. They're not quite as solid as a KO2 in terms of sidewall strength, but in terms of all-round tire, very, very good, well priced. So if you're looking for something that's good, 50% tar, 50% gravel, you're not going to be doing serious off-roading, but you want something that looks nice and performs well on tar and gravel, the Falken Wildpeak has got you covered. And it's also in that average price bracket, not the expensive sort of BF Goodrich, Cooper and Micky Thompson, which you're going to pay more, but you know, you're getting the machismo, you're getting the heritage and the off-road ability. So it's all a bit of a balancing act. So you got to pick out what works for you on this list. They're going to number 2 on the list, which has been a constant in the top 3 of my all-terrains. You just can't get this tire out of the top 3, is the Micky Thompson Baja ATZ P3s. From last year's review, I've got people writing in the comments how they've got the tire and it's worked really well for them. Phenomenal off-road grip, not too noisy. It does what it says on the tin. And you know you got that Micky Thompson off-road heritage. These things work really well. Good, strong, rugged tire. This is more on the hybrid tire between all-terrain and mud tire, so this is going to be a bit more aggressive. You're probably going to, your fuel economy might go up a bit. It would be great for show trucks and people that want to put big 33s, 35s, 37s on. These are really, really cool tires. And but still not over the top mud tire where it's going to be sounding like a tractor going down the street. But it is definitely for somebody that's looking for 70% off-road, 30% on-road. But I mean, they'll still be fine on-road. These modern tires, there's no real donkeys anymore. You know, in the old days, if you wanted a rugged tire, you had to sacrifice noise, handling, and whatnot. But now, you're starting to get the best of both worlds, which I think the tire that encapsulates the best of both worlds, best in 2022. Sure, you ready for it? Number one on the list, the 2022 all-terrain tire shootout, ladies and gentlemen, is the Maxxis AT3 Razr. I've been seeing a phenomenal amount of these on South African trucks, proper off-roading buckies and large SUVs. The Stallion put a set on his Fortuna and was very, very happy with them. Quiet, very, very rugged tread pattern. This is another one that's on the sort of hybrid all-terrain mud side, but still handles perfectly well on the tar, not too noisy. But you know when you're going off-road, you're going to have a solid sidewall. You're going to have confidence in this tire. I've heard another person I know went to Namibia with him, didn't have any problems, and swears by this tire. So, and if you look on the forums or online, it really does tick all the boxes, and the people are buying these like hotcakes in Australia and South Africa, and they really, really look the business. So we've had a big shake up on the top 10 this year. Some of the old guards out, some of the new guards in, and some of the favorites stay put. But it wouldn't be a top 10 if I didn't have some special mentions. But there's more than just 10 decent tires in South Africa and the world. And let me go through some of the honorable mentions, which are good but not quite good enough for my top 10. Hint, disclaimer, this is a subjective list. This is just my opinion. I've driven some of these tires. Some of them I haven't, but I do my research. So take it from whence it comes, ladies and gentlemen. And if I've missed anything that's big in the South African market, leave a comment below. So honorable mentions is the BF Goodrich Trail Terrain, which is BF Goodrich's latest tire. It's coming in at the more soft roader market and the bucking market for somebody that wants a 90% tar and a 10% gravel, which is kind of flips its head on the KO2s, which is more of an off-road tire. This is more of an on-road tire. 2-ply sidewall, less aggressive tread pattern, but still kind of looks like the KO2. So you kind of still get that KO2 look, but with more road bias handling. And a little bit cheaper than the KO2. So price-wise, they're going to get some traction on this. So good if you want to upgrade your tires on, say, your Combi or a RAV4 or a 200 series. You know, you take your pick. And then number next is the Yokohama Geolanders. One of the most improved tire. Yokohama 10 years ago had rubbish sidewalls. You just look at a pavement and the sidewall will be gone. But these ones have got decent sidewalls. You can go into the bush on them. They're great on tar, but just not quite good enough for the top 10. Also, the Pirelli Scorpion SAT Plus is a great car if you've got a big SUV with a big rim, like a 19 or an 18-inch rim, 20-inch rim. These look really cool. They've got a lot of sizes for those Porsche Cayennes and big BMW and German type SUVs. You can also put them on your bucky, but they're just not going to be. They're once again a 90% road, 10% off-road tire. Probably great in the European market where you don't have to do that much off-roading. Tread looks really cool and an individual, but Pirelli's never really been known for their off-road tires, so if you want to do serious overlanding, I'd look for something a little bit stronger. And finally, the Bridgestone Dueler D697s. Now you hear mixed reports about the Dueler. Some people say the sidewalls are a bit weak. My friend Simon had the highway version of the Duelers and did 100,000 Ks on in his Jimny and didn't have one puncture, and it's just got a set of the 697 Duelist, so it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on, because he does a lot of gravel roading with his film work. But still a good honest tire. It's probably another one of those 10% off-road and 90% tar tires. Yeah, good honest tire, but it can't quite bang off-road with some of the other guys, but it looked really good. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is your top 10 all-terrain tires for 2022. Peace.